Ireland, I think I want something hot.
How about a hot bourbon and cider?
Sounds good to me.
Let me show you how to make it. Welcome back to the channel. I'm Matt and I'm the whiskey nerd.
I'm Rose and I'm the whiskey noob. And it's still quite cold over here in Ireland, so sometimes you just want a bit of a hot drink or a hot cocktail, you know, but like, I don't really like making really in-depth cocktails because that's a little bit at a level above me, so I just want something nice and simple, easy peasy to make.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm making this week, a hot cider and bourbon, or a hot bourbon and cider, whichever way you want to call it. Because what this is essentially is just bourbon and some hot cider with some spices in it to really just make a very simple, very tasty cocktail.
All right, sounds straightforward enough to me.
So, like I said, it is just bourbon and cider, but we're not just using regular apple cider here, we're using mulled cider. So this here is just regular apple cider, and thanks to movie magic, I'll be able to get some very hot cider in a little bit. But what we've done is we've taken some hot cider and we've mulled it for about half an hour with some cinnamon, with some star anise, with some cloves in it to really get a nice bit of spiciness into the cider so that you get all that flavor rather than trying to make it in the glass, because you never get that deep, rich flavor into the cider.
You gotta mull it.
You gotta mull it, so you gotta mull your cider. And we're also gonna be using some wild turkey bourbon. It's just a very nice bourbon. It comes in at 81 proof. This is the standard one, it's not the 101 proof. So it gives you a lot of flavor without really giving a heavy alcohol burn, without giving any heat. So use a little bit of that, some of this mulled cider, and you just have a really simple, really tasty cocktail.
Well, I like the sound of that.
And thanks to movie magic, I've got my hot cider right here.
Ooh.
As you can see, nice and steamy, and it has a really, really nice kind of smell. As you can see also, the color difference from that mulling, you really get all that flavor into the hot cider. So it's gonna be really, really tasty.
Can I try some?
Yeah, of course you can. So this is actually also one of those things you can make a cocktail that's kind of kid friendly or friendly for people who aren't drinking, because you can make the hot cider. It's super tasty, it's super refreshing, but then for the adults or for the people who are drinking, they can have a bit of the bourbon, spiking it up, making it just that little bit nice, a little bit kind of more fun for the adults. So let's make our cocktail. How is this?
Oh, it's absolutely delicious. It's like if you just took like an entire apple and just popped it in there with all of this stuff. It's deliciousness. Like, you could definitely give this to a kid, they love it, and you can definitely give it a friend who doesn't drink, they love it. I love it. I'm gonna have it with that and without, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so what I'm putting in here is 1.5 ounces or 45 ml of wild turkey bourbon, and it's kind of one of those cocktails where you go in like 3 to 1. You don't need to be precise, you find out a ratio. If you like it stronger, add a bit more bourbon, add a little bit less hot cider. If you like it a bit weaker, add more cider, add a bit less bourbon, but I personally like about a 3 to 1 ratio, so I'm just gonna top this off, just like that. And then I'm going to put a little bit of a garnish on top, because you got to be a little fancy.
A little fancy.
A little fancy, so we're going to put some nice apple slices right over there. And that right there is a hot cider with bourbon. And before Rose drinks all this cocktail, if you're new here, scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, hit that subscribe button. We put out cocktail recipes like this every Friday. We put out whiskey reviews on Wednesdays and sometimes fun videos on Mondays. So if you want to see more, make sure you hit subscribe. And now she's going to taste this cocktail.
Oh, that's delicious.
Yeah, now I'm going to take the garnish off because it's just for presentation. Oh, that's really tasty. Yeah, I like using wild turkey in cocktails like this where I'm not looking for like a hit of alcohol, where I'm just looking for those kind of oaky, caramelly, kind of bourbon flavors, the vanilla, the little bit of almost peanutty note you get with wild turkey. I'm looking for that to come through, but then it works so well because the cinnamon, the spiciness, the cloves, you get that in the wild turkey, and it just works really well, I think, with the cider.
So this is where you are.
This is where you are.
You're in a ski lodge.
A ski lodge.
You've been skiing and snowboarding and frolicking all day. You're cold, you're tired. You're looking at a giant roaring fire. You pick up one of these, and it's delicious, and it just hits the spot just where you need it after a day of frolicking in the snow. Perfection.
I often get with corn-based whiskeys, obviously a bourbon is a corn whiskey, but with single grain whiskeys, I get a kind of a buttery note, or you get like a little bit of butter. Think of like an apple crumble, or something where you get like a little bit of a buttery note with the spices, with the apple note coming through, yeah?
Oh yeah, I am.
Yeah, it's really, really tasty. Very simple to make. As you saw, all you gotta do is mull that cider for about half an hour. You can make a huge batch of it.
You will be making me a huge batch of it later on today.
Yeah, and then you can essentially just have, like, at a party, you can have a giant punch bowl full of cider, and you can pour themselves a little glass, If they want, they can top it up with a little bit of bourbon, and there you have very simple
perfect party idea.
party cocktail. So if you want to do that, make sure you do it. I'm going to
We're gonna do it.
enjoying this cocktail, and we'll see you next time. Sláinte.
Bye bye. Make more of me that later.
I'll make you more of that later.
That's delicious. Make more of me that later.